Sorry. The average lifetime of the mosquito, I think albopictus, although you might have both, it depends on the humidity. Wait, let me get this straight. Lifetime of the mosquito is humidity. And I don't know how to tell the humid conditions, but I think the humidity out there, I'm going to say 4 to 6 weeks. If it gets real dry, it can drop pretty quickly to like 2 to 3 weeks. So it's quite humidity dependent.
Areas that have low humidity, say Waimea or the dry side, is that less prone for mosquitoes to have a long life?
Yes, but you remember it's very microclimate. So today you go and you see it's kind of dry, but as soon as you get into the underbrush, where it's sheltered from the wind, it's pretty wet.
Is the best treatment for like water lilies and ponds that don't have fish in them?
There's a lot of material that you can purchase at garden exchange, garden shops that are called dunks. You read the labels on those. Yeah, it's called larvicides. Yes, they do.
If you suspect you have dengue and you go to one of these places to get a blood test, are they free?
You know, the other night we were down at Honokaa, yeah, and the Federal Qualified Health Center there in Honokaa mentioned that if persons cannot pay, they'll take it for free. So there's like a sliding scale type of fee that they have. You know, right now we're trying to work on to see if like Bay Clinic and West Hawaii Community Health Center will be able to do the same.
Do you have a photograph of the rash, what it actually looks like? Because rash is so vast.
It looks different at different times. And some people say when it first starts, you remember some people don't have rash. When it first starts, it's little points that kind of merge. And by the time I saw it, like a day or two later, it looks like a bad sunburn. The other interesting thing, it's not as painful until the fever starts to clear and the rash goes away and it's left again with little points. Some people say it drives them crazy. It's like pin pricks and pokes. And it can be anywhere, but usually when it's on the hand, if it's on the hand, that's kind of a giveaway. Not too much gives you rash on the hand. So it's this big picture of what you're looking at, what else they feel, and the location.
Rumor is that the storage shelves are depleting on their supply of repellents. Is there anything that the county is doing to work along with the retailers?
You're correct. Many of the retailers, especially in West Hawaii, have had their stock depleted. Some of the retailers here as well on the east side. We've been working with all of them and maintaining close contact with the distributor out of Oahu for most of the products and trying to help expedite shipments that are either in transit or being packaged. As recent as today, I followed up again with Young Brothers and asked them if there's any shipments for retailers here on island that are waiting for scheduling. Can we expedite those shipments? So everybody's working together. We've also reached out to State Civil Defense to see if there was any kind of government stockpile of repellent, let's say military surplus or through CDC, but unfortunately there isn't that kind of a stockpile for repellent. So we are very sensitive to that. Many of you are looking for repellent, maybe can't find any. All the merchants are trying to expedite that, and we're gonna do what we can to help them get their shipments quicker.
Hi, my name is John, and I was doing some research on the internet, and I know that everything that you read on the internet is true, but I just wanted to verify this. I saw this little trap like this, a mosquito trap. It has water, yeast, and brown sugar, and supposedly the mosquitoes fly in, but they don't fly out, and it's probably good, but I don't know if it's effective or not. That's my first question, and I have another one that you want me to ask both of them at the same time, or? Okay, the second one is for treatment. I heard that if you juice a papaya leaf minus the stems twice a day, 2 stems or 2 papaya leaves, that helps, but I don't know, and I'll take my answers off air.
You know, we had this repeatedly at the town meetings about the papaya leaf, and we never got it clear if you put it on or you drink it. Oh, well, first of all, me, if it was my family, I've never tested it. I really don't know if it worked, but I wouldn't do it, okay? Things you take in really need a formal testing, and the proof of that was the Department of Health Oxypro Elite. That was causing some bad problems, and if you look carefully at the compound, it's, you know, stems and leaves and herbals, which are not standardized or really tested before applied. Now, the first one, the sugar, yeast, and water, that makes the yeast grow and puts out, I guess, CO2, and attracts the mosquito. You can try it, but the mosquito traps we used on Maui, the electric ones, that caught the wrong mosquito, that caught the night biter. So go ahead, try it, see what you can catch. I guess we would be, if we're, help you identify the mosquito, but just because you trap 10, well, how many were there? 1,000 or 10? It's good if you chop them all, but if there's plenty, kind of like you're just nipping the tip of the iceberg. The mosquito? I don't. Yeah, we have an entomologist, on board, catching and identifying.
Correct. Right now, we have a entomologist from Honolulu that's located out in Kona, and she's using a trap called GB trap, which is basically putting dry ice to attract the mosquitoes because it releases the CO2, and there's a fan underneath that sucks in the mosquitoes. And what we're looking right now is trying to make identification if it's albopictus or a gypti mosquito.
Hi, my name is Jean. Several years ago, there was a big thing with citronella, and I thought I would ask if you could address whether it's actually, in any way.
That came up at previous meetings too. And so today, I actually went to a very good friend who's trustworthy and very organic. And she uses citronella repellent. Now, I'm not talking about the candles, the repellent. Huh? Oh, I don't know about the plant. I just want to talk about, well, you can almost extract from the repellent to the plant. She says, I put it on, but I got to put it on every half an hour. Whereas DEET, even the lower concentrations, you can put on every couple of hours. The higher concentrations every 4 or 5 hours. Now, the plant is going to be very variable. I really don't know the plant, and it depends where the mosquito's biting and where the plant is, and the wind.
Aloha, my name is Alex White. Quick question. Just wondering if the team has considered this opportunity to unroll modern technologies with the use of the GM mosquitoes to completely eradicate mosquito populations, such like they're doing in the Florida Keys and in Brazil.
I had a conversation on that previously with Dr. Sarah Park. She's aware of it. I know Florida, because of their continuous outbreaks of dengue and West Nile virus, etc., has looked or applied to use genetic modified male mosquitoes to be released because the word was that it was very successful in some other countries. I can't recall which one, but they had to make an application, and I haven't heard of any approvals yet for doing that.
I'm John Q. Public. My name's Don. 2 questions. One, how long do mosquitoes live? And the second one is the poison that you've sprayed, which they sprayed my yard, does that also kill fire ants?
Are we ready?
Dr. Pang had mentioned that generally the adult mosquito will live about 4 to 6 weeks. I am not sure if it kills fire ants.
My name is Howard. There are a lot of Culex mosquitoes in the Hilo area, I know, because you can identify them by their flotation, the eggs that float. Are these also vectors of dengue, or is it specifically for Aedes genus?
Yes, Culex mosquito that we have on the Big Island, I think it's called Culex quinifasciatus. No, they do not carry dengue. But the concern about Culex quinx is that they could carry West Nile virus, which we don't have. Yeah.
My name is Paul. I have a couple questions too. First, I was wondering, it wasn't clear if we have more than one strain here. I know we have 4 types, but Are they all the same strain?
All of the dengue that's been identified in the state to date has been dengue type 1.
And also, I heard they were collecting tires out in other areas of the island.
Yes, initially we had opened up 3 transfer stations to take in tires based on the areas of concern out in South Kona and Ka'u, so the Waiahinu, Ke'e, and Waia transfer station. But the mayor is very committed to getting these problems addressed, so you can take tires into any one of the transfer stations right now, and it's an amnesty program. There's no charge getting in the tires. Except if you're a dealer. If you're a dealer trying to get rid of your stock, that's not going to work. But definitely it's just residential cleanup.
I heard that the clarification about animals, does that extend to dogs and cats as well as cattle? Okay. And then I just wondered if there's feedback from biologists or environmental scientists and concerned about the fragile ecosystem we have here, and of course the number of extinctions of species, and is this spray going to damage bird populations, other populations of native species that I know it's high on the toxic level, so I was just wondering if you've had input from folks about that.
I'll answer your first question about whether or not dogs and cats can carry the dengue. The answer is it has to be a primate. That's what we were told by the Centers for Disease Control, so you don't have to worry about other animals. And I will let an expert in... Okay.
What they're spraying with is really quite disruptive to the ecosystem of freshwater streams. So, in Hana, we really had to use it carefully, stay away, not spray when the winds blow. So far, there's no freshwater streams out there. If it comes to Hamakua, then we have a little bit more caution, but we will use it, but not when the wind's blowing and not where streams are flowing. It's pretty disruptive to the ecology.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I think Jason had mentioned that you have to be asymptomatic, or if you get bit and you don't have symptoms, does that mean you had dengue or not? And when you get bit the second time, is it worse? You said some people get bit and don't show any symptoms. Does that mean that they had dengue and just weren't symptomatic?
I guess that would be a fair way to put it. Like, for instance, we know that it's type 1. So if we've been bit by type 1 and you're asymptomatic, you're in the clear for type 1. It's the other types that, we kind of worry about, but obviously this outbreak is really relegated to, probably just one type, so we don't have to worry about that. But is the question more about if you're asymptomatic, do you still have it in general? If the nice thing, our immune system is responding to it, so you can never get that type again. So if you've actually been asymptomatic and you live in a hot zone, you're probably not going to get, dengue fever this time around, as far as we can tell. And the last time we had a dengue fever outbreak, which was on Maui in 2001, that was type 1 too.
But if you're asymptomatic to one infection, and then you get another type, that's no guarantee you're going to be asymptomatic to that. Okay, so you were lucky this first time you were asymptomatic. But don't forget, you can still transmit it to mosquitoes. So the general fight the bite is just don't get bitten because you might be transmittable and give it to the rest of the neighborhood.
Let me just make one comment too about the asymptomatic and whether or not you can spread the disease, because I don't want to create any confusion. Dr. Sarah Park, our state epidemiologist, at the meeting we were at in Kona, was sharing her knowledge that if you're asymptomatic, that it's very unlikely that that a mosquito that bites you can carry the disease. They've since followed up with the Centers for Disease Control. Again, we're in daily communication with them, asking that specific question. And the people and as you just heard Dr. Pang say, what could be spread, the people at the Centers for Disease Control are not in agreement as to whether or not an asymptomatic individual can spread the disease to a mosquito or not. So that's why you may have heard some difference of opinion. Centers for Disease Control is not sure either. The science is not finished. I hope that answers your question.
Hi, my name is Sandy, and I have school-age children. So my first question is, how are we going to get the schools, taking care of all of the kids that's concentrated in one area. And, when they're sprayed, how effective is a spray, and is it residual? Like, does it last? Because, all the rain that we're getting, will it wash away? How often will it be sprayed? We want to know how kids are being safe in school. We have open windows with no screens. It's hot in the classrooms. We don't have air conditioning units here. So the kids are outdoors a lot. We want to make sure that the campuses are safe for them to be at during the school day.
One of the things we're doing, like I said, it's a team effort. So we're working very closely with the Department of Education. And as was shared earlier, just because you have mosquitoes in the area doesn't necessarily mean those are infected mosquitoes. But because we're identifying cases of confirmed and possibly even suspect cases nearby to schools, there's going to be a proactive effort starting this weekend with treating the school campuses in areas, starting in Kona as well as here in Hilo, with the treatment, the same spray treatment that the Department of Health is using around some of those cases. So we'll be treating the schools going forward. We'll make sure the parents know. It's something that's coordinated with the DOE. Obviously, we do it on the weekends to allow for us to do the spraying when no one's around, because the material that's being sprayed also leaves a slight residue that will kill the mosquitoes that will land on the surface. So we want to apply that when no one is around the campus, and it is safe once it's settled and you're not breathing anything in. The other thing is, as was previously mentioned, as parents, we can all provide our kids as they leave home with an application of the product. And one way you can find out how well it works is test it out. How long do you wear it? Because we're all different. Our body makeup is different. The activity is going to play a lot too. And I know it's probably easier for the older kids to take some with them and reapply. Maybe for the younger kids, a little more difficult. So we're working on, again, with Department of Education, Department of Health, how do we address that with, kids that are in school with activities, recess, excursions. There's a lot of concern from the parents, but for now it's asking you to do what you can before they leave the home, provide them with the treatment or the repellent, and if they can, take it with them, let them use it, or take it with them to school. We're definitely going to be treating the campuses going forward. All of them will wash away at some point, and it depends on what they're doing, if they're out in the rain, etc. So you have to read the label, see how long the recommended or its expected use time is. Well, our spray, the spray will also wash away at some point.
I think this spray has a special enhancer that mists it, and hopefully it gets under the leaf where it gets all over. But if the top washes where you got so they got the best shot at the misting of it.
Hi, my name is Mary, and Hawaii's economy is really dependent on tourism. And wouldn't it be wise for the Hawaii Tourist Association or agency to give some funds to Department of Health to help with this eradication? Because, like yesterday we heard 38, and then you're saying 56. So this could really be a situation that would go on for quite a while.
We are working very closely with the Hawaii Tourism Authority and with the hotels. In reality, although there have been some visitors who've been infected, those have been individuals who've been out in mosquito-infested areas. The majority of visitors to our islands, if they're in a hotel setting, are going to be at very, very low risk of getting mosquito bites. When we had the last episode in Hana in 2001, the study on the number of visitors who were infected was extremely low. There's actually was a study done on the prevalence, so it's a very low risk, and so we do want to reassure our visitors that they don't, again, dengue is not endemic in Hawaii. We have an outbreak right now, and we're trying to get it under control, but it's not endemic like it is in Southeast Asia and the Philippines and many other places that people travel all the time.
Hi, my name is Kirsten, and I'm actually a parasitologist, and I'm glad to see Dr. Peng here and wanted to ask just a few questions. Luckily, being one of the last questioners, it seems like a lot of my questions have already been answered, but I wondered if there had been any instances of the hemorrhagic fever that any of these cases have progressed to, and if we had had any historical outbreaks of the 2, 3, or 4 types of dengue.
I heard an anecdotal report that one of our cases had kind of bad nosebleed, and I think Dr. Cregan kind of went off and took care of that. Historically, I know there was a big dengue outbreak near the Second World War, and they were spraying the islands, including Maui, with DDT. I don't know that type, but as far as I know, I guess we only had type 1, huh? In Maui, who had type 1, and now we have type 1, and okay. Oh, no, we haven't had any severe hemorrhagic shock come in the hospital. And in Maui, in 97 cases, one elderly woman went to the hospital, not from the complications of dengue. She was elderly and had not too much reserve.
Hi, my name is Mary. I just wanted to pass out some information from some people in Kona who are bringing in the eucalyptus non-toxic repellent, and they have it on order. It will be here before the end of the week. I have some brochures if people want to contact them.
Good evening. My name is Katie. And do you have any recommendations of places perhaps to avoid here in East Hawaii? And my second question is that, is anyone targeting the at-risk homeless people here in Hilo?
Yeah, we are addressing the homeless, but I'll let Chief Oliveira discuss some of the things we were talking about even today.
We're all aware there's a shortage of the repellents. But prior to the shortage, two of the merchants or two of the retailers were able to assemble a donation of some repellent products that are in transit right now. Our goal is with that particular donation is to make it available to those who are less fortunate and challenged. We have a sizable homeless population. We also have a lot of people that are facing difficult times financially, living in substandard conditions. So those donations will be focused on those groups. In fact, there is a homeless forum taking place coming up Thursday, Friday, Saturday at different points on the island, working together with Hope Services, working together with some of the rural health centers, putting the products out there and making it accessible for that vulnerable population. We also know that based on some of the cases that have been run up so far, it's some of our migrant workers that may not have access to health care. So we're all working together on finding ways to reach out to the vulnerable population. That includes our seniors and our youth, but also those that are socioeconomically challenged, and provide access to both the screening, the health care, and the protective measures that we're all recommending. As far as places to avoid, we live in a very lush tropical environment. Mosquitoes are everywhere. We don't want to frighten everyone and have you change your whole lifestyle because of this, but it's making adjustments to what we do. Going out, as Jason pointed out, avoiding the dusk and dawn times where the mosquito activity is greatest. It's understanding that we got climates and microclimates, as Dr. Pang mentioned, that will encourage the breeding of the mosquitoes, and then using the strategies such as the repellent and the clothing if we want to participate in some of these activities. But it also ties into the question regarding the tourism. We don't want to lose our visitor industry because of fear for something that we can do a lot individually to protect ourselves and still enjoy our environment here.
Actually, I have two questions. I hope you don't mind. The first one is, how many times can an infected mosquito bite different people? Like in a small group, like on our lanais or whatever, can they hit 2 or 3 people and all 3 people going to get it? Or, and then the other thing, what is the difference in the 4 types of dengue fever?
Well, I can answer the first question because I heard our state epidemiologist answer it in Kona this week. The Aedes albopictus only has 1 blood meal, so they bite once before they lay their eggs. The Aedes aegypti will bite 3 or 4 times, so they might infect 3 or 4 people on your lanai, whereas the albopictus will only infect 1. Is that right, Jason?
Yeah, but I should also point out, like I said, when that mosquito bites you and say you have it, whether you're symptomatic or not, if that mosquito, if they didn't eat enough and they go bite Aaron here, they're not going to get it. There's a time lag, and where that virus has to go into the mosquito, takes time for it to replicate, amplify. We're talking about about a week long for it to amplify until that mosquito is infected. So even if the mosquito itself has to be infected over a timeline as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
if dengue is not there.
If it's already infected, it can, if it's the Egypti, it can bite 3 or 4 times, right? But, yeah.
But if it's not infected and one of you are infected, and then the spread out, you can't spread it out by that. But if the mosquitoes are infected, there's probably more than one mosquito in that area that has it. Yeah. Did you want to say something?
No, that's okay. That's enough.
And then the second question is, what's the different types of, what's the difference in the types?
Oh, the types in the genetic materials? I don't know.
The types are these families, but within one of the types, there's all these little substrains. But the types, it was very controversial for 50 years whether one of the 1, 2, 3, or 4 is more severe than the others. I think the general feeling now is it kind of doesn't matter. A repeat infection, second, third, or fourth, is going to have a higher risk of severe problems than the first infection. So the first infection, they generally say 0.1%, 1 out of 1,000. The repeat infection, second, third, or fourth, might be 15 or 20% complications.
But my question though is, you guys are all saying that we only have type 1 here. What is the difference between type 1 and type 2?
The question is, we only have type 1 here. If we had type 2, would there be any difference? Not to somebody who never had it. If he got type 1 or type 2, he'd feel the same. But if it's a repeat infection, suppose somebody from the Philippines already had type 2, then he could get type 1. But if someone from the Philippines already had type 1, then he's immune to this type 1.
So I think the difference is very small, minute genetic markers. That's a difference.
Hi, I've got a couple of questions. Are the progeny of all female infected mosquitoes also infected? What altitude is the highest that they can survive? And what citizens are more vulnerable to this disease? Hemophiliacs, AIDS, cancer patients, and the like.
Wait, first of all, before we talk quite about these questions, the CDC took our mosquito from Maui and they sent it to Institut Pasteur. And they said that our mosquito, over the 150 years, mosquitoes were brought in 1850, has evolved quite a lot. So whatever statement we make about other people's albopictus might quite not apply to ours. But I can tell you, I have property at 2,200 feet on the volcano side. There's no dengue there, but I got plenty of albopictus. So it's at least at 2,200 feet. The passage to the egg, the albopictus, the forest one, that has shown to pass to the egg, but only in the laboratory. It might be 6% or 64%. But in the field, when they look in the infected areas, try to get the eggs, it doesn't seem to pass in the field. The other one, the Aedes aegypti, the other one we might have, doesn't pass through the egg. What was the last question? There was one more question, sorry. Oh, the vulnerable population. It's kind of interesting. Usually when diseases come, they say, watch out for the very old and the very young. Yeah, that's flu and all. And in general, they have less reserve, but it's not really that striking in dengue. And, but I can tell you one thing, they do warn. People on steroids, steroids are immunosuppressant. We've had some surfers in Costa Rica die or almost die when they got dengue in Costa Rica.
Hi, thank you for being here. My question is, when a person has dengue fever, when are they considered cured, and how long is it before they no longer can infect mosquitoes?
The idea is that you can only, when you're showing symptoms, and most symptoms should abide within 1 to 2 weeks. So you have to be symptomatic for it to go on. And that's certainly that's not a certainly straightforward answer as we're going to get. It really depends on, some of us say, I'm still really sick. So it's really hard to gauge, but there is at least some point where you stop showing symptoms and you can no longer pass it on to the mosquito. But like we said, you have to be symptomatic, and usually those last only about a week or two.
You know, when the fever goes away, the virus goes away. But the next 2 days is when the time you're supposed to watch for severe complications. So the severe complications is not when you have the virus, it was your body's reaction. You killed the virus, good, but you seem to harm yourself in the process. It's for those 2 days. And then on Maui, I actually was amazed, but they told me it's quite common. Kind of a higher percent of people, maybe 5%, have severe depression for about a month. So the wife referred the husband because he was suicidal. And I said, no, just tough it out, tough it out. And he did well, and he said, wow, that was strange. But they, for some reason, have depression.
Thank you all for your very good and insightful